All right, all right. Welcome back to another episode of the Masterful Conversations podcast, where we learn about leadership from the men who have served or are currently serving as worshipful master in a regular lodge of free and accepted Masons. I am Brother Matthew Wagstaff, a past master of Eureka Lodge number 36 out of Rochester, New York. We're currently serving as our worshipful master is Brother Jermaine Myers. And I'm with
I am Brother Mark Alexander, proud past master of Sons of Kings Laws number 123, where our new worship master is now presiding, Brother Kevin Parker.
Yes, congratulations, Brother Kevin Parker, Senator Brother Kevin
Yeah.
Parker.
Yeah, for
Much
those
love.
that don't know, Kevin Parker is actually a sitting state senator, and he's our worship master. He went into the work. He does the work.
Yeah,
It's
brother,
rare, but it happens.
busy. Brother is busy, 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 but he seems
Yeah.
to love the craft, and we
Hmm.
appreciate him for sure. Congratulations, Brother Parker, Worshipful Master Parker. All right. Before we introduce our guests this evening, um, do we have a quick disclaimer? Oh, excuse me.
Yep.
No.
Yep.
Before
Okay.
we jump into that, see,
Hmm.
I threw off just a quick second there. We
Hmm.
both hail from the most worshipful Prince
Worshipful.
Hall Grand Lodge of the state of New York.
Hmm.
Currently serving as our Grand Master is most worshipful Darren M. Morton.
There
And
you
so
go.
before we introduce our guest today, we do have a quick disclaimer.
The purposes of this show is for entertainment and educational purpose only. The views and opinions are our own, do not reflect the views and opinions of our prospective lodges or grand lodges. If you have any particular questions, please consult the proper office in your prospective jurisdiction.
Absolutely. Yes, please like, subscribe to the channel. We appreciate all the love as usual. The love continues to pour in. We much appreciate it. All the comments, it's definitely appreciated. So please share this episode, share all the episodes with as many people as possible. We are in election season here in the jurisdiction of the Most Worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge in New York. And I just had a lodge election last night. We got another one
Hmm.
coming tomorrow here in upstate New York, and a bunch of elections downstate New York and throughout the jurisdiction. And
Hmm.
we have a new past master on the line today, freshly cemented past master
Hmm.
on the line today. Definitely happy to have you here, past master Jason Callahan from Hollywood Lodge number 92 out of Amityville, New York. Past Master Callahan served this year, 2024, and is currently also serving as the lodge chaplain now that he's a past master. Welcome to the Masterful Conversations podcast, Past Master Callahan.
Thank you. Thank you, Past Master Wagstaff, Past Master Alexander. I appreciate you both. I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Definitely. I know we chatted in the green room a little bit. You gotta let the world know how's it feel. How's it feel to be out of the seat for a quick second?
You see me grinning. Yeah. Um, I'm definitely feeling some sense of relief, but also a sense of accomplishment.
Excellent.
Um, I would say 90% of the goals that we set out for our lodge were accomplished, and the other percentage, or 10%, will be continued with the new worshipful master, who is Kendall Seegers.
All
Um,
right.
so I'm looking forward to his leadership and serving under him.
Definitely.
Same here.
Congratulations, Worshipful Master Seegers, for sure. All right. So let's jump right into the conversation then. So we like to start off our conversation with you just giving a little backstory. So just give us a little bit of information about your history in the craft, the year you got raised, and tell us a little bit about your journey to the East.
So I got raised in 2011, initiated, passed, and raised in 2011. At the time, the worshipful master was Maurice Evans,
Mhm.
who is currently the right worshipful. Believe he is I forgot, the Grand Marshal. Um, so I was raised in 2011. At the time, the person that vouched for me was past master Jim Wallace.
Mm.
Jim Wallace was a mentor of mine since I was a kid, in the neighborhood of Long Island, of North Babylon, Wyandanch, Amityville area. He was a teacher, he was a coach, and so I had known him for most of my life. And how I really got connected with Masonry was I was aware the founders of my college fraternity, which is Omega Psi Phi, were all Prince Hall Masons. At least I know 3 out of the 4 for sure were. Okay. And Past Master Wallace still is a member of Hollywood Lodge, and we had that conversation, and he asked me to, you want to go further, let's go further. And at the time I was hesitant because I was still very active with Omega. And at that time I was the boss of my chapter. I was the president of my chapter. So I was really busy.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, yeah.
But I knew, this was something that I wanted to do because I was seeking knowledge and to have stronger bonds and fraternal bonds. And his brother Wallace, or Past Master Wallace, was my mentor. That was something that, I said I had to carve out time to do. So that's what I did.
Oh, real quick, Jason, I know I can't let things slip by. You said you what are your chapter besides president? What do you call it?
Basilis.
Basilis. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. This is Greek word is for president, which means in Greek world, if you go into ancient Greek, it means king.
Okay.
Things like, so that's what we call, every fraternity sorority has a different, name for their president. So
okay,
that's
Basilis.
why, yeah.
Got it. Thank you.
So no problem. And so, yeah. So at that time,
new word for the day.
New word. So at that time, so I decided to, pursue it, and which was great because the Masons that I saw were people that I grew up with. Because Hollywood Lodge is not just a lodge where, you see the building. We've known about that lodge since we were kids. My church, which was Holy Trinity Baptist Church, is right down the street. So it was very familiar to me. It's a place where people would have baby showers and birthday parties and community events. So I was familiar with the lodge. I was familiar with the brothers, but I did not know exactly what the Masonic part was about. And then I got the introduction. So again, introduced, entered, passed, and raised, 2011, and that so began the journey, or so I thought. So 2011, I came in, but it was so much going on with me going to school and doing the career thing and the family thing. I fell off for a while. I would say about 5 years. I still would go to meetings here and there, but I was really trying to solidify my family situation in terms of having everything solid, because you can't do any of these things without having a solid foundation. And my kids were really little at the time. So I needed to take a break after doing stuff. So about 2019, I started coming back around, and I took off from there, because at that point the lodge was going through transition. Brothers were getting older, our mentors were getting older, and we realized that we were the ones that were going to have to initiate, keeping the lodge and keeping Masonry going. So a lot of us decided, to, make that effort to, do what we needed to do, carve out the time, because we literally had to carve out time, talk to our families and say, listen, we're in restructure and rebuild mode, because our mentors are in their 80s and 90s, and they just don't have the energy, and it's up to us. We can't look to them the way we used to when we were younger, when we were kids. So we had to be, and you're going to hear this word a lot, intentional about what we were going to do. And so that's what we did. And this was about September 2019. And, that's when you start learning about what positions are, really learning. That's when I really started learning what it was to be a master Mason.
Who was the worship master at the time?
So at the time, it was Past Master Robert Gomez.
Okay.
Gotcha. And, the senior warden was actually Past Master Caesar Caro.
Mm-hmm.
So when I got with them, you know, they were obviously ritualistically sound, which was great for us. That year, I believe we won uh, the fourth district lodge of the year, and
Okay.
we were competing in the ritualistic contest too,
The Golden Gavel.
the Golden Gavel.
Hmm.
So now things are starting to open up, and like anything, when you change or you grow and you have losses, there's going to be hurt. Some of your podcasts speak on hurt feelings and how we deal with that, and
Hmm.
so we went through them same changes, but it was different because we were moving with a purpose. We were moving with a purpose, and so because we were moving with a purpose, even those that may not have agreed with how everything was going still went come back around and participate in helping the lodge to move forward. And whenever you
Right.
move forward, you have to clean up some things. So that was part of my journey. That's why I'm saying it with my journey was, it wasn't just, oh, hey, you become the junior deacon and now you're just a junior deacon. No, I was doing other stuff besides that. Everybody was it was like hands on deck.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
And what was interesting was we we were using between 2 and 3% of our lodge brothers
Hmm.
Mm.
for this whole
How
journey.
many brothers were on the rolls?
So I don't remember, but when it was how many were on
Roughly.
the rolls. But
Yeah.
when I came in, we had 47.
Okay.
Okay. So it was less than that or
So
more.
we had between 8 and 10 brothers working, right? And when you have that small amount, everything becomes heightened because it's like the ones you care about the most are the ones you get at the most, right?
Mm.
So it's like, hey Matt, we cool, yeah, we working hard, and then one day we ain't working, we not liking each other
Mm.
Mm.
because we work so close together all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So
You're in the trenches. Yeah.
we're in the trenches together. So
Hmm.
it's gonna get funky.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
exactly. That's
But
a good wording.
so there may be a day. Listen, there's been times where me and past masters, there'll be times when the phone we hang up on each other. Look, I'm
Hmm.
gonna
Mm.
talk to you tomorrow.
Mm.
But because we had an overriding purpose,
Mm.
the next day we was ready to go.
Back at it.
We was
Hmm.
Yeah.
back at it. So there wasn't any long-standing animosity,
And
Yeah.
you
that's
know.
how it's supposed to be.
Right.
Very good.
And so, that's pretty much how we moved and we progressed. And my journey was I started as a junior deacon, and then I went from junior deacon to junior warden, did that for 2 years, and then I went to the east to, so some people might say it was a quick journey, but it really wasn't. I became a master mason in 2011, and I'm glad I took that long route because I don't know
Mm-hmm.
because you're never prepared to sit in the east, but at least you can see some things. And I always tell folks, you got to see the journey, you got to
Hmm.
see the seasons, you got to see and travel before you sit in that east, because there's a lot
Mm-hmm.
more to it than ritual and standing there and presiding and guiding. There's so much more. And so one of the best pieces of advice I got, it was from past master Aaron Collins, was to keep a journal.
Mm.
Okay.
And I
Okay.
started keeping a journal my junior deacon year.
Mm.
And what's great about keeping a journal, you can keep it on your cell phone, in your
Hmm.
notes section. You don't have to write it. You can, you know, keep notes. And it allowed me to see things coming. It also allowed me to pivot if I needed to,
Mm.
right? Because not everything works perfect, right? Fundraisers don't go the way they always supposed to go. Um, we always talking about money. We're talking about time. We're talking about personnel. It's like a small business. It's a
Yeah.
job.
Yeah.
This is a job. It's a small business. But we
Oh,
not sell,
see,
we're not selling anything.
you just triggered me on
It's
that
a
small
service.
business statement. You know how I feel about this.
I know you did. Yes, I know how you feel. No,
Service
so
business. It's a
yeah,
Yeah,
service.
it's
we
a service
side
business.
hustling serving business.
Yeah.
Exactly. No, and no, I don't have a business card. No. No credit. No, let me stop.
Everybody volunteering around here, but yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes,
Hmm.
absolutely. So, no, I appreciate that. When you said you were journaling, for folks or brothers or anyone who's listening right now that may be just curious about that process, can you share a little bit about that process you were doing? Did you journal every day, just when things popped up? Like, what was your process for journaling?
So I journal probably 3 days a week.
Okay.
3 days a
That's
week, things that would pop up. I would leave little uh notes with the journal. So if there was an event, like let's say we did Thanksgiving,
Hmm.
I would put things like who showed up, when did they show up, or and then I would put emojis of how it went, feelings, how
Oh,
did it
okay.
feel,
Nice.
and then because it's also a good way. What we started doing post meetings.
Of
We
course.
started
Yeah, definitely.
instituting
Debriefing.
debriefings.
Debriefing
How can we do
after.
it
Yeah,
better?
exactly.
So I would put those
Excellent.
things in there.
Excellent.
Um, so I would have if I have an 8-page stewardship, my journal's probably 30-40 pages,
Mm.
right? Because now I can go back and say, okay, let me look at this. First and foremost, self-evaluation, right? Because you got to know, how did you come off,
Mm.
right? So self-evaluation, and then evaluate where the lodge was moving and each
So now
individual.
we gotta go down that rabbit hole. I'm sorry, Mark. We gotta go.
Yeah,
You said
Wait,
good.
self.
before we go down a rabbit hole, we're gonna go to a quick plug for Matt for his book because it's around the same thing about the journey. So talk about your book real quick, and then we can keep.
Oh.
No, it's a guide for new master masons. So we talking about the first year, having a successful first year as a newly raised master mason. So you can pick that book up on Masonic Prince, prince with a Z.com. But yeah, it's
And
really
then
it's
and
a short
involve some
read.
journaling like that too, right? Or something like
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
definitely part of the process.
Hmm.
Just having conversations, but also making sure you write your notes. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, just things to help brothers in their first year because you get raised and then they say, all right, here's your information. Good luck. So it's a little bit of guide, just the guide brothers with. Thank you.
Hmm.
Appreciate that plug.
Hmm.
Um, I gotta go down the rabbit hole, just again, sharing
Hmm.
your story about self-evaluation. So the question I have is what criteria did you evaluate yourself?
um, well, first and foremost was presence, availability. Because one of the things and I can only speak for our lodge because most lodges are local in nature. Even though we
Okay.
serve under the Grand Lodge, we are still local in our communities. So one
Hmm.
of the things that was characteristic for our lodge, you needed to be available and present, right? And for me,
Mm.
because of where I reside and where I work, that was a struggle,
Okay.
right? I made it work. I could have done better, but that was definitely one of the challenges. Um, Obviously, ritualistically being somewhat sound. When I say
Mm.
somewhat, because everybody's level of expertise or knowledge of ritual is
Mm.
different. There's different levels. You go to different lodges, you see something different than you see in another one. Constitutionally proficient, right?
Mm.
Knowing your constitution, your bylaws, and then knowing, just because we have a building, we need to know local laws, rules, and regulations,
Mm.
state laws, rules, and regulations. And you need to know some business. You need to know how to do finances, which was another one of my weaknesses in terms of Masonically, because Masonic finances is different than any other finances,
Mm.
right? Um, so you have to know how that works in relationship to your building, to your community. How do you want to raise money, or how do you want to, for example, you might want to increase the dues, or you might, go old school and pass the hat around.
Hmm.
Different methods, but do they still work today? Do we need to do something else? We have new technology. How does that apply? Right.
Mm.
And so you've got to know sound business. The Grand Lodge teaches us about having separate accounts for separate things, for dues and taxes and so on and so forth. But do we really all understand that? Right. So as the master of the lodge, you got to get with your treasurer and your secretary. And thank goodness I have a great treasurer and secretary that know.
That's a blessing.
You know what I'm saying? Like, they know what's the what. So that's important, because you don't want to screw that up. It's hard to raise funds when you can't even handle what you have. right?
Yeah.
And then the other thing is, out of the 1 to 2% that you do have of brothers that are working, we're coming out of our own pocket, some more than others. How long do we keep doing that? Because some brothers are okay with it, right? Hey, listen, what's yours is mine. And then the other brothers, like myself, is like, look, I got a wife.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna need to hold up on that one because that's the reality that you live
Yeah.
in, right?
Yeah.
You got to live in that realness of it. So you have to make sure that you can do certain things. You have to, and as a worshipful master, you got to see all of that, right?
Mhm.
You've got to have an understanding of everybody's situation, and then on top of that, you got to hold everybody's stuff in confidence, in
Yeah.
secret, right? Because somebody
Mm-hmm.
might be struggling, but you can't tell nobody that. So you have to deal with that, right? And
Mhm.
that's, I can be transparent, but I can't make everybody else be transparent.
I
Mhm.
mean, you only transparent because you choose to be transparent. You
Right.
ain't got to be transparent about your own personal life either.
But listen, I'm a weird bird, so I just,
Not
you know, I
at
can
all.
be
You just, you feel comfortable with it. So,
right. Because other folks got to be realized that, hey, listen, we can't all do the same thing with this, at the same pace. So you have to
mhm.
see all of that, right? So that's pretty much, you know, evaluating me. How did I see everybody? How did I perceive everybody? How did people folks perceive me? Which is, part of my self-evaluation, before I can go and talk to the wardens,
Yeah.
you know.
I think
So
that's a really
Well,
good, like, that's a pro tip right there. Like, hey,
yeah, exactly.
brothers, like self-assessment every year, like spend the time. What we say, wisdom dwells in contemplation. We got to sit
yes.
still for a minute, figure out what
Yeah.
you're going to evaluate yourself on. If you're a warden, junior deacon, whatever it is, master, and
hmm
really
Mhm.
evaluate yourself. Just be honest with yourself. I love that, Pass.
Yeah. One thing I definitely love about it because as we all know, what we say with Freemasonry. Freemasonry is supposed to make us better, right?
Mhm.
You can actually see yourself becoming better
Yeah,
if you got it written down and you can see where you came from to where you
Right.
are, right? So you
Right.
have a document record that you be able to tell somebody that want to come in, see, this is how
Right.
Freemasonry helped me improve as a
yeah,
man. And
Right.
it
yeah,
could do the same thing for you if you choose to work at it. So I
Definitely.
hmm
definitely love that.
yeah. Or you can see the potholes you keep falling in. Like I keep doing the
That
Yes.
same thing
too.
over and over and over and over and over again.
Right. Right.
That too. You keep hitting that wall.
Keep
Like,
hitting that
yeah.
wall, thinking it's gonna break. Like, no, my head gonna break before that wall breaks. So let me just get right. Let me fix myself up.
Yeah,
But no,
listen, it teaches you discipline
yeah,
because, if you have to do something with funds, even your own funds, you gotta look and say, okay, I know I gotta go to this event,
hmm
and let me make sure I put something to the side or whatever the case.
hmm
And that was another thing that was told to me, just as a sidebar. Past Master Hugh Arthur told me a couple of years ago, um, before I served under his leadership. He told me, he said, save your money, save your money. And he's a
hmm
businessman. And
Okay.
he told me, save your money. I know the lodge has, different funding for masters, but
With some things, yeah.
you need to save your money. That's some of the best advice I ever got.
Yeah.
Yep,
And
You
it's,
want to enjoy your year. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? You
yeah,
want to be able to freedom to go here, just have an event.
right,
You know what I
right.
mean? My classmate is having something to make over here, or I just
yeah,
love this lodge or chapter or whatever. So you can do that and
Right.
represent your lodge well because
Yeah.
you got prepared for it. It's all in the preparation. Definitely.
Yep.
yeah. What
That's a good advice.
just for grounding too, because I'm not familiar, and I should have did this before we got on. But folks who are listening, where is Amityville, New York,
Okay, so that's Suffolk
relative to
County.
like New York City?
Yeah, so relative to New York City, it's probably like 40 miles away from New York City. It's on the border actually of Nassau County. So Amityville is, it's right there on the border. Massapequa is, Nassau County. Amityville is Suffolk County.
hmm
And yes, it is the home of the famous haunted house. Yes.
Oh, like
Amityville
Amityville,
Horror.
yeah, yeah,
Amityville
that one,
horror,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, like
Yeah.
Amityville
I,
horror.
hmm
yeah, I've been to the house. It's not that deep. At least not for me. It's not even like 5 minutes. It's 5 minutes from the lodge. It's really not that deep. You wouldn't even recognize it from the movie.
Mm,
Okay.
okay.
So just so you know, yeah. So it's there. Um, Yeah, Amityville is on the border of Nassau County.
Nice, nice.
Right.
Now one question we always ask is, what is effective leadership?
So, as I've said earlier, intentional leadership, especially in Prince Hall Masonry, and I'm being narrow because it's a uniqueness in and of itself to be a leader of men. In this particular case, a leader of African American men who are strong, who are probably most likely leaders in their own right and their other endeavors, whether it be their vocations or whatever the case may be. So yeah, that's it's unique. So you have to be intentional. You have to have not just studied the craft, but you have, like I said before, you have to have studied your lodge. Know the personalities in your lodge, right? You got to take that time and build those relationships. And that's important. So effective leadership actually starts before you get in the chair. Not when you get there, because that's too late. It's before you get to the chair. And you start that at the door. I know that sounds like a cliche, but it's really does start at the door. As you work your way in, you are working your way, talking to past masters and other older brothers who may not have served in the East, but have been in the lodge for years and decades. And you start building those relationships and getting those golden nuggets, right? That's where you're being intentional. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to the East, so that's your goal. Because I would be perfectly honest, that wasn't my intention. My intention was to help the lodge and be a good Mason, right? It wasn't until I got to junior warden, my second year as junior warden, that I was like, oh, okay, this might happen, right? But as a master Mason, you should be intentional anyway when you come in to this craft. You should be intentional about what you're doing as a master Mason, right? And then if it's blessed for you to have that honor for a little while, then you prepare for that. You should always be preparing anyway, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's everybody's end game, right? So but you should be intentional. So my thing was I had to be intentional about where I was going. And then once I saw what it was, I said, okay, there's definitely a shot that I'm probably going to end up in the East. So I became more intentional, right? More prepared. But nothing really prepares you, but you try to get as prepared as possible before before you get to that chair. So that was my intention, to learn from the brothers, stay in the ritual, again, stay in the Constitution, write in my journal, support the masters of the lodge that were there, and take from them as well, watching their ups and downs. Because that's another thing too, especially when you're a warden. You should be watching. It's not a time to sit back in the South or the East and just be, on your cell phone, just, hanging out. And, it's actually, you should be paying attention to what's happening, right? Because you might be you. And it may not be later, it might be sooner. I actually had to open the lodge twice as a junior warden. Not because something bad happened. It was an emergency. The master has something they need to do, but we needed to open the lodge, and there I was.
I was going to ask you about that. Was the senior warden the past master?
The senior warden was a past master, but he wasn't able to, at that point, open the lodge.
Got you.
Yeah, he wasn't able to do it. So it was upon me as the junior warden to do it, to open the lodge and close the lodge. So that's what I did. And they say you're supposed to be prepared to do that. Not that I thought that was gonna happen, but again, you watch, you pay attention, things happen, and in this day and age where so much is happening in our lives, we have so many distractions and so much more, that takes place in our lives, that those things can happen. Like I said, I've got 47 when I came in, 47 on the rolls, 8 to 10 show up to meetings.
Mm-hmm.
to the meetings, not just the fundraisers, but to meetings.
Meetings, yeah.
You know, and that's, you know, I think one year we had maybe 18 at an election. Yeah, I think like 3-4 years ago we had 18. You know, but
How
we
many
have
on the roads now? 45 on the roads now?
no, I think we're down to, I want to say 36, 35, 36.
Okay.
Yeah, they did. I know your lodge did have a couple of heavy hitter deaths, especially during like that whole COVID time.
Yes, that was another
Yeah.
thing. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
we got hit bad.
Hard.
Like,
Yeah.
Mm.
and you know, nobody wants to do that work.
Oh,
You you
just a
want to,
special
but you
note.
don't want to.
Right. If I'm right, Vincent Best is out of your lodge. Was out of your lodge, right?
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
Mm.
yes. That's the one.
See, y'all
Yeah,
should have a suite every mid-year.
yeah, I know, right? It's free.
Like,
For those that don't not in New York, Vincent Best is named that he's named after a mid-year session that we have every January.
Yes.
And he was a past master out of Hollywood Lodge. Well, I guess he was a past grand master, I guess, right? Was he?
Yes, he was also
Yeah,
a past
past grand
grandmaster.
master. Mm-hmm.
Yep. 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 Yes, he was.
I know you talked about also getting prepared or whatever and traveling. How much you think the traveling helped you out to get prepared as worship master?
So I didn't do a lot of traveling,
Mm-hmm.
but the traveling that I was able to experience
Mm-hmm.
was tremendous.
Mm-hmm.
The camaraderie was off the charts.
Mm-hmm.
The level of learning, you know, was off the charts. I was able to go to Massachusetts. I was able to go to Philadelphia.
mm.
Um, and obviously I did some traveling in our different districts, you
Mm-hmm.
know, which was good. I was trying to get to 123.
Yeah.
You know, I could never make it, but I was going to other stuff. You and I would run into each
So
other.
we always there. It's all good. You down the
Yeah,
block. You in Brooklyn,
I
so
know, right?
you always visit. So you always welcome there, of course.
But we, you know, so some of the traveling that I did, and even in the fourth district,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you learn what to do, you learn
Mm-hmm.
what not to do, but you also learned what was needed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because now you're looking through different lenses, like, oh, okay, this is where we are in the craft. How can I help? Right? Because sometimes
Mm-hmm.
people say, oh, this is crazy, or this is that, and we're very critical. No,
Mm-hmm.
how can you help? How can you make this work? You know, what part can you play? You don't have to do everything, but what part can you play? So I looked at it from that lens as well. But traveling out of the state was nice. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it was nice. Tiring, but it was nice.
I highly recommend it, especially if you're a worshipful master. Getting to the Grand Lodge of Massachusetts. Man, shout out to the Prince Hall Grand
Yeah.
Lodge, Massachusetts. It's beautiful in that space and seeing the basement
Mm-hmm.
area where they have the
Yes.
historical portrait down there. It's
Mm-hmm.
just a great space. So
Yeah.
definitely highly recommend that trip for sure. And then going to Cambridge Commons and seeing the Prince Hall Monument out there at Harvard
Yeah.
University
Yeah.
Okay.
is another must do for all Master Masons if you are
Look,
in the Northeast.
Yeah.
I
I
just
actually
had
went to
those flashbacks on Facebook from 2 years ago when I was out there.
Yeah,
so
beautiful, beautiful.
when I was a before well actually when I was a junior deacon, I actually went back up there for the burial, like the burial site itself.
Yeah, and don't
Like,
forget that
Mm.
too. Yeah, gotta
Yeah,
I
go to
went
the
there.
grave site.
go to the gravesite.
Yeah, I went
That's the
there.
one thing I
Some
did not make it to the gravesite, but I got to
okay.
get out there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's one of the things that should be, like on every Prince Hall Brothers bucket list.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
Those type of things.
yeah.
Definitely.
Definitely.
I know also, but say you may not had did too much traveling so much, but you also, me and you got kind of closer, like say through the consistory and things like that.
Yes.
So how, other bodies can also help you out on
Yes.
your journey too, right?
Definitely. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, part of my journey, especially in the consistory,
Mm-hmm.
uh I took some stuff from you in
Mm-hmm.
terms of how we learn, but we also teach.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, we have assignments that you would give us,
Mm-hmm.
and we volunteer, but you was strongly
Yeah.
recommended that you say, you know, somebody like to, you know, teach on certain subjects, and that
Mm-hmm.
was a great honor to actually teach on certain subjects in masonry. right? You don't, that was really, really good stuff. And to be able to learn, not just say, oh, you're this or you're that, but yeah, I can actually talk about it. I can talk
Exactly.
about these numbers and this book, this ritual, and how our journey, how we are advanced in Freemasonry. Because at that point you're advancing.
Lance.
Right? So how do we advance? And we can actually explain it and it makes sense to the craft, right? And in our case with the consistory Sabron Princes, right? The 32nd degree. And that's pretty cool. Again, I don't know what happened 30 years ago, but I know I'm glad when I came in, we went right to work, right? We went right into learning. And then you take that information and you bring it back to the Blue Lodge. And that makes sense, right? You bring it back in a way that, you can present it and the brothers will understand. So, because that's pretty much what we're supposed to do. This advanced knowledge, we're supposed to take that and make our Blue Lodge better.
100%. Definitely.
So I was glad to have that. And then I'm actually the eminent commander for the Knights Templar St. James Commandery number 23.
Nice.
Personal because I'm a Christian and it's a Christian part of Freemasonry. So, again, taking information, advanced information and filtering it, obviously, and then bringing it back to the Blue Lodge is important. And seeing all the different nuances, that's definitely important. And as well as the other houses that I'm in. But in those particular houses, I do play roles in there in the consistory. I am in the consistory, I'm the hospitaller. So
Nice. Well, just to crystallize it a little bit, you talked about the fact that your lodge was in a rebuild mode and the things that you evaluated yourself on. Can you just crystallize for us specifically, maybe a couple of the programs that you focused on while you were in the East this last year?
So last year we focused on fundraising and community exposure. We needed to be the lodge that folks look to for men and to be leaders in the community, right? Because we had some unfortunate situations, not our doing, but before, where we were not seen in the best light, right? And we wanted to change that perception, but not only to change the perception, but to also make it so that, folks in the community say, oh, we want to go see what's going on in Hollywood. They're having a fundraiser for the kids. Oh, what's going on in Hollywood? They're having another fundraiser for Halloween or Christmas, right? We were out and about, and then we were showing up in other community situations, as Masons. We're showing up, right? We're showing up at the school board meetings. We're showing up at voter registration. We're showing up, down the block in front of the local businesses, right? Even if it's just, my wardens who cook very well, just show up and start, cooking and, not even selling plates, just giving plates away, right? So being present in the community, showing up in the parade, which we hadn't done in a long time, and being present in the community. And so kids see us, parents see us, brothers that might want to come back see us, right? Because sometimes you can talk to them, but if they don't see any fruit, they're not coming back. So that was our thing. So two things obviously was our 70th anniversary. I happened to have been when I was installed as master, that was the exact day, December 5th, 1953. I was installed December 5th, 2023.
Nice.
And so this 70th anniversary year, we had a boat ride, which is one of our signature events.
Not in December.
No, in this July, not December. No, no. And then we've just had our past masters ball, which we hadn't had since 2019.
Nice.
And we gave out scholarships to college students. We gave out $4,000 worth of scholarships.
Very cool.
So those are our signature events. And like I said, we do stuff for the kids. We do toy drives. We do again Halloween, and we do Thanksgiving, which is which is what we do. And then we have little stuff in between, but you're talking about signature events. Those are our five off the top of the head that we do. And we do them well, and we're going to keep doing them.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, shoot, 5 is more than enough for a volunteer organization when you still got to study and learn
Yeah.
on top of that too. So congratulations to you, Pass, for the work you and your brothers did this past year.
Thank you. Thank you. So yeah, and like I said, that was the other thing too. You got to let brothers be their best version of themselves. That's
How
the
do you
other
do
thing
that?
too.
How you do that?
Yeah.
So, as I talked before about strong personalities, right? And you have to take. So the first thing you got to do is you got to take yourself out of it. What's best for the
Mm.
lodge, right? So, for example, Thanksgiving, perfect example. Um, Thanksgiving is my family day. That's when we have the kids, the grandkids, and everybody's at the house. So there's no way I'm leaving. But I'm never going to stop somebody from doing something for the community or try to stop. So the wardens, along with the past masters, said, listen, there's some of us that are available still want to do it on Thanksgiving. We want to do it on Thanksgiving Day, even though we usually do it the week before or the last day before kids let out of school. They were like, we didn't have time, but we want to do it on the day. No problem. So they ended up giving out probably 90 dinners.
Wow.
Nice. That's a lot.
Nice.
Okay. They gave out dinners at the lodge, and then they gave out dinners at the shelters in the local area. Right. Now, my ego could have said, oh no, that's not how we do things. I don't want it. I'm protesting. I'm not doing it. Master says no. Why? Why would I do that? Let the folks be the best version of themselves. If you have an idea, you like it, I love it. It's not violating anything, go for it, right? And that's what you do. You encourage folks, you coach folks. Sometimes you have to manipulate folks into doing the best that they can, right? You have to, it's something called a sandwich. Give them something good, give them a little bit of critique, and then you give them something good on the end,
There it is.
right? And you have to do that because you're also dealing with egos. So you know what's best for the lodge. Bottom line is, what is best for the lodge? What was the goal? It wasn't about Jason being the best master. It was about Hollywood Lodge being the best lodge for the community, for the craft. That's the most important thing, right? So that's what. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, finish your thought. I'm sorry.
So who am I to get in the way of that, right? So you have to say, okay, yes, be the best version of you all, that's one example, but there's others, right? People come up with ideas. You may not always like it, but what's best for the lodge? The study class moves from one day to another day, from AM to PM, stuff like that. What's best for the lodge? What's best for the brothers that might want to come but can't because of their job situation? Brother says to me, you know what, Jay, can we do an extra one? Yeah, the lodge is open 24 hours for us. Go ahead. If you want to do floor work, go ahead. Do that. You want to mentor this young brother that's in? Yeah, go ahead. Please. I encourage it. It's not about, oh, let me do it because I'm yada yada yada. No, it's go ahead. And that's what you do.
Giving them some ownership.
You give them ownership because ownership leads to confidence, and confidence leads to, as we saying, I'm going back to you, past Master Wagstaff, but talking about businesses, you want the person behind you to be able to replace you. A lot of times we're afraid of that. We're afraid of that. We talk about it in business, but we don't talk about it in Freemasonry all the time. You want the person behind you to be able to replace you. So you let them be the best version of themselves within the confines of the craft. So that when you leave, yeah, they can forget about me and say, well, who was that master in 2024? That's fine. That's really the purpose.
Yeah. Succession plan is huge. We hear that a lot from all the past masters, from many of the past masters have been on the show. We talk about preparing the men behind them. Even if they come kicking and screaming, we got to get you ready because your time will likely come. And so we got to put you out there.
Better yet, I ain't trying to be here forever. So somebody,
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
It's
So
your
you
own
have
self-interest.
to.
Sometimes it's selfish. You gotta listen. I ain't gonna be here. So
Exactly. That's reality.
so
Like,
you know.
I'm not trying to be homeless, so I'm gonna need y'all
Exactly.
to
Yeah.
You
get
try to
ready.
step this up. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
you
a
don't want
couple
to
of
drop the banner. So
right,
yeah.
Right.
right. A couple of follow-up questions real fast too. One, we talked about giving ownership for that example for somebody that's listening right now. Who'd you give ownership to for that Thanksgiving event? And was it self-funded by the lodge or did they raise money for it?
Both. So we had funds available, but then brothers chipped in.
Okay.
We
Is the
we
junior
we
warden over it or like the past master was over it?
so the junior warden started it and the senior warden finished it.
Oh, nice. Okay. All right. They work
So
together.
the junior, because the junior warden wasn't able to be there as well, but the
Hmm.
junior warden started it and the senior warden finished it. And when I say that, they oversaw the other brothers doing the work,
Nice.
right?
Okay.
So and what happens is it usually starts off with, hey, let's do this, and then somebody says, hey, I'll I'll cook the greens. Oh, hey,
Yeah.
you know what? I'm bringing two hams. And
Yeah.
then somebody else, jumps in, and then somebody says, well, okay, what about the money? Well, I'm gonna put $50 on it. Oh, okay, I'll put 100 on it, and it's organic in that way. And
Nice.
then once it becomes, a full-fledged event, and one of the things that my senior warden does very well, he makes flyers. So he puts the flyer together. Okay, I do public relations. I put the public relations piece out there. My junior warden, he goes into the neighborhood. And my past masters who live in the neighborhood go into the neighborhood. They push it.
Oh, okay.
One of the things that when we talk about self-evaluation is they have great social capital.
Mm.
Social capital in masonry is important.
Mm.
Yeah,
Because
definitely.
the reason why I say that is because you don't want to always sell within masonry, because all you're doing is making the money go in a circle, right?
You don't want to
So,
sell in the masonry.
right. So what you're doing is you want to sell outside the circle.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
And those brothers, they made me look good because they have a lot of good social capital, great social capital. They're great on social media. They have all of this, whatever it is, they got it.
Mm.
And they know how to get out and get folks coming in, home churches and businesses and things like that.
No, that's great. No, that helped. That's a huge asset to be able to have that social capital in the space and not just leaning on the craft to support you, the sisters or the other chapters or other lodges in
Yes.
your area for sure.
Mm-hmm.
It's great that you gave the men accountability and ownership to do that work and kind of put your ego aside and just said, I'm gonna be here. I trust you. Go do your thing. Going back to your point around intentional leadership, did you go into your year thinking about like, hey, I'm gonna be intentional about how I give authority, or did you go into it saying like did it just sort of pop up on a case by case basis where you just sort of made these decisions on the fly? Or did you go into your year knowing like, hey, at some point there's gonna be things that the brothers are probably gonna want to ask me to do, and I just want to be intentional about I'm willing to step back just so they can move forward, or did you kind of just take it as it came?
So when I came in, what my trestle board, I had a meeting with the wardens, first and foremost, right? We had a meeting, and the first thing about the meeting was we wanted to make sure that they knew what their jobs were, right? And to make sure that they were comfortable with what they needed to do, right? So that was the first thing, first and foremost, have a meeting with the wardens. Looks like, so basically saying, hey, listen, it looks like we're going to be elected. This is what it is. Here's the job description once again.
Mm,
Do you really understand what it is? Here's the trestle board. Do you really understand what it is?
mm,
And breaking it down from there, right? So that's the first piece. Having a meeting, it's like having a meeting with your assistant coaches.
right, right,
Okay, you
right.
on offense, you on defense.
Yeah.
Okay,
You
this is
coach
what I need.
football?
No,
Okay, yeah, I'm about to say
I
I
use
coach
sport.
football.
Listen, I use a lot of sports analogies because
Uh,
it's easier that way for me. It helps me think better.
mm,
So now we have our meeting. All right, here's the trestle board. So, senior warden, who's going to be the committee chair for this and that? Now we know it's going to be the same 8 or 9, but we still got to put it out there.
Mm-hmm.
There's 4 quarters, right? The first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter.
Mm-hmm.
And the main thing was to be intentional about the quality of services that we were giving to the brothers, to ourselves, to the community? Is it quality? And that was the first quarter. My past masters excellent at projecting what we needed to do to sell tickets and things of that nature. 8 months down the line, 6 months down the line, we have a boat ride. Okay, let's start putting that together. So that was putting those committees together, or as you would say, crystallizing those committees. Because really the work takes place in the committees.
Yep.
It doesn't take place at the meetings. It takes place behind the scenes in the committees. The meetings are really where you go give your reports and, you know, put up your proposals. But the committees is where the juice happens, right?
If you're talking all day about an event at your lodge, at your chapter, you are doing things wrong and wasting people's time.
So
unless I just like to talk and listen to the committee report, committee business in there.
So those are and those are that takes a lot of energy. But it also, there's a honeymoon period within the first 2 weeks.
Yep.
Right. So that's time to start to get stuff going. So a lot of times people say, oh yeah, take off and relax. No, that's the time to get stuff solidified, because it's the honeymoon period and everybody's agreeable.
Oh yeah.
Now after that second week, it's on. So
it's funny you say that. I was just thinking about that yesterday, about how it's like this euphoric feeling across the whole state when you get new worshipful masters in the online, and everybody like, oh, I can't wait, it's about to be crazy, it's about to be. And then about March.
At least after mid-year, definitely.
After mid-year.
Even like right after mid-year, it's like, oh, okay, this the honeymoon's over.
So now this is, you have this honeymoon period's over. Now you got to deal with putting out fires. Because once the engine starts to go, you start getting, hey, I wanted to run that committee. Why is he doing it? Why can't I do it? Those type of things start happening, right? So now you got to deal with personality management, right? Dealing with that, because you've already got your trust board. You should have already got your trust board. You've already had your meeting with the wardens. Now you're having a meeting with your principal officers. So of course, you know how we do now in modern technology, we create principal officer chats. We create, you know, we have that. And you also, and this goes back to knowing your bylaws and know your constitution, because you got to be able to gently correct and be corrected. Right? Because a lot of times, you know, I don't know everything, but I have to be able to correct and teach. But then I also have to be able to say, somebody said, yo, worshipful master, you know, can't do it this way, got to do it this way.
Yeah. So
you work out all of that stuff in that first 2 months, right? And it's a lot of energy. It's a lot of
intentionality. It requires energy.
It does, and it's getting phone calls at times when you really don't want to pick up the phone, but you know you need to, because really, you know, I would say 90% of the brothers are calling you because they really need you to put your stamp on it. You know, they really do, and you don't want to not be available. That's so important. You need to be available. Sometimes, you know, I'll be on my way to work. It's not sometimes, 4 out of 5 days a week, I'll be on my way to work. 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm on the phone with either a past master or a principal officer or whoever, you know, and you know, and then that nighttime, you know, this time around when everybody's in the bedroom sleep and everybody's whatever, and this is the time when we need to work out some stuff, right? So you've got to be prepared for that. So in those first month, you getting your family acclimated to your lifestyle, you're getting yourself acclimated to that lifestyle, you know, and so there's a lot of, again, using the word, intentional processes that have to take place. You have to set a precedent. What you know, you're setting the precedent, you're setting the tone, so that way the meetings should be smooth as possible. They should be as smooth as possible. Now, I did in my 10 meetings have a couple of them where I let them purposely go past the hour and a half. Again, allowing certain things to take place to vent.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So I would say, okay, you know what? I'm not only going 90 minutes, these 2 meetings, but a third meeting, I'm gonna let y'all do 3.5 hours. I'm gonna let you rock out. Because once they get it out,
Yeah, for sure.
now you can go
It's
back
out.
to
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
and you don't never want to be caught off guard
Mm.
having a long meeting that you didn't intend to have a long meeting.
Mm.
So so I had one meeting that actually went 4 hours and 25 minutes. But I enjoyed it.
He knew the
I
25 minutes. He knew.
listen, I enjoyed it.
I
Listen,
got you.
I kept the ball in play, and
Mm-hmm.
because
Look,
the worst thing, you don't want to get caught off guard,
mm-hmm.
right? Where it's like, oh man, because once you get caught off guard, then your mind, you don't think straight, and now things that really need to get done don't get done.
Mm-hmm.
So you really have to be, again, intentional about that, and make sure your wardens know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Let your
definitely.
wardens know, listen, this is what we're doing for this meeting. So I'm gonna need you to do ABC. I'm gonna need you to do ABC.
Mm-hmm.
All
You know,
right.
we haven't asked this question, and I don't think we've asked this question at all. And it's probably like one of the most basic things for in terms of like the meetings. Do you have a
Mm-hmm.
paper agenda
Okay.
Yes.
for all
Yes.
your meetings? Yeah, like we do the same thing, but I'm curious
Yeah.
about how many worshipful masters in 2024 actually have a paper agenda for their meetings. I hope it's the vast majority, if not all of them. But I'm
Yeah.
curious about
So we send out a communication for the state of communication. And
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
within that communication, we give you a synopsis of the agenda
Oh,
Yeah.
really? Okay, in your communication that you
in
mail out.
communication.
Oh, okay.
And
Okay.
and that's not something I came up with. That was something when I came in.
They always did.
Hollywood was always doing that.
Oh, okay. I never heard of that before. That's cool. I like that.
Yeah, so it's like you get the communication, and then within the communication, it gives you bullet points of what's going
Like
to
a
happen.
forward agenda. Like this is what's going to
Right,
happen for these meetings or this meeting for
right,
the month. Okay. All right.
Yeah. I mean, we
and
got the
then
same thing.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
so then at the meeting, I will hand out an agenda, depending on how many brothers are there,
Mm.
but most brothers that are there have been coming, so they already know what it is, right? So, but I do have a paper one available for those that might say, I want the paper one, but I usually have it sent out in the mail.
Yeah. Okay. That's cool.
Yeah.
Now, did you have your own notebook or keeping your own notes aside with the agenda about
So,
what you wanted to cover and things like that?
right. So yeah, I have an agenda within the agenda,
Mm-hmm.
which I also, we give to the wardens, and also have the wardens take notes, which was taught to me. When I was a warden, I took notes at meetings. I didn't, like I said, I didn't just sit there playing on my cell phone, whatever.
Mm.
I had to take notes, because what do they ask you at the end of a meeting? Was there any errors or omissions? And I don't
Right.
want to sit there like Willie Lump and go, I don't know, because I wasn't paying
You
attention.
just say no. That's all.
You just say no. But if
Nothing in the South.
nothing in the South,
Nothing,
nothing
exactly.
in the South,
Nothing to the south.
I'm
I
still
have
on
no idea
TikTok.
what
Then it's
happened
all
tonight.
messed up.
Yeah, but again, because there might be something there that you may not have to bring up, right?
Right.
I mean,
And-
that's factual. I mean, 100%. Well, first, I'll leave the junior one alone. The senior warden, he has a duty that he's supposed
Yeah.
to be doing during the meeting that involves paying attention.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
exactly.
Yeah.
So this is duty to be paying attention. At least you could
Right.
kind of get the junior warden. I'm like kind of active all after this meeting.
Yeah. Right. He's telling, he's making sure that the stewards are doing their part with the coalition.
Yeah, exactly. That's
But
what
yeah,
that is.
the senior warden, he's really got to be paying attention. Yeah, that's
100%.
yeah. So yeah,
I
and
know. Yeah, Jay. Get
I
it
know,
out.
like I said, the only reason why I do that is because you're gonna have people that's gonna battle you in a meeting,
Mm-hmm.
so you want to be prepared for the what ifs, right? The what if questions, the what if something somebody's not agreeing with. Somebody said, well, I didn't hear about that. Okay, well, let's recap. Because you do a
Yeah.
lot of recapping in meetings too.
Okay.
You do
Well, then
recap.
you also know that's what comes along with going and studying your lodge and knowing your membership. Because you're
Yep.
gonna know you got this past masters are gonna be
Oh,
the one that says
yeah.
this, and this
Yep.
brother gonna do this or whatever. So
Yep.
it's possibly coming. So you better be prepared for that.
And you better know the difference between, because somebody could be hostile, but they could also be correct.
Yeah, definitely.
So you gotta know, okay, I just got hit with this. How do I take this? Do I just take my gavel and go to town, or do was that correct?
Right.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, that's correct. And if I had to do it over again, I would, and I would have for somebody like anybody who's a past master, something like that, I would insist that they sit in the East with me
Mm.
because they are,
Mm.
you know, they're invited.
Yeah, yeah.
But I would, if I had to do it over again, I would insist
Mm.
because that way they can tell me, hey, you know, because that's what they're there for, right? They don't just sit behind there to be, you know, hey, I'm past master. I'm sitting here because I'm cool. No, they sit there because they're actually trying to help the master of the lodge do their job.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. I know you, as you mentioned about your laws being all involved in the community. I don't know if I shared this with you or not, but I did know about Hollywood before I even came to Prince Hall.
Okay.
And that's because of a brother that was in my old jurisdiction, brother Lindsay, who lives out there in Amityville. So
Okay.
he used to be cool with the brothers and stuff like that. I guess he probably hung out at the bar, things like that. So that's how I knew about Hollywood before I got there. And when I
Right.
came, I
Okay.
finally got a chance to experience, Hollywood. So that
You
was cool.
did. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, so that was
Appreciate you
definitely
coming
cool.
out. Coming out. Yeah. That's one thing.
Brother
Glad
Lindsay
you.
he's in his now. He's another brother that now he's in his 90s.
Mm-hmm.
I bumped into him a couple of times recently. I don't know if I think he was at a Hollywood event I seen him at also.
Okay.
So, but yeah, that was cool. So that's how I know about your laws in particular. And you did get a chance to mention a few brothers as far as your mentors. Do
Mm-hmm.
you have any other mentors, to get those names out? Do you want to mention, please?
Sure. So, first ones that, before I came in were, past Master Gittins,
Rest in
uh,
peace.
yeah, rest in peace. Past Master Jimmy Thomas, past Master Preston Brown, rest in peace.
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned past Master Collins, past Master Hugh, author, past Master Maurice Evans, past Master Valentine Davis, um, brothers that weren't past masters, Curtis
Yeah.
Courts,
Mm-hmm.
um, you know, just my secretary, brother Kevin Booker,
Mm-hmm.
they that would, pull me to the side, tell me some things, you
Mm-hmm.
know, just to keep, like it's okay. You just, not even have to say any great wisdom, but say, hey, it's okay. We're gonna be all right. The type of thing. I'm trying not to forget any names, as
Nah,
Yeah.
don't
Blame
worry
your head,
about
not
it.
your
Yeah,
heart. We got you. It's all
exactly.
good.
We got it's all
obviously,
good.
you, past Master Alexander, you and I talk
Yeah, a
a
lot.
lot.
Yeah.
Obviously, uh, Bordali.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm always back and forth with him.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times it's not so much the technical things about it, it's just a good word, right? It's a good word, of encouragement. That's important. Because sometimes you just kind of like, especially when you spent your emotional tank is on E, and you have those days when you like, if another one say another thing about another thing, I don't know.
Yeah.
We about to be different. And
Yo,
we
and
got
Matt, Jason is like me. He be coming out with the questions out of nowhere. Like, question, question. I mean, always great questions. Of course, they're always great questions, but it's like,
Hey,
question.
stay curious. That's all
Yeah, yeah,
good.
yeah.
Stay
exactly.
curious.
He'll
Listen,
keep you on point by asking those questions.
listen,
I
we
highly appreciate it, bro.
listen. That's what we do. Like, yeah, because I'll hit you up like
Yeah.
people like, wait, hold on, let me stop what I'm doing. What did you just ask me? Because you do his research, right? And you
Mm-hmm.
say, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. Because that's the thing, we do so much that's word of mouth, right? Mouth to ear,
Exactly.
mouth to
Mm-hmm.
ear, mouth to ear, mouth to ear.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's consistent, doesn't always make it correct, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I like to verify, because if I'm going to
Exactly.
teach it, I don't want to teach it the wrong way,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
So I like to verify, to get the various information and see what it is. Okay, this is what it is. This is correct. It's consistent. It doesn't violate the Constitution, and it doesn't violate our free Masonic laws. Okay,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
all right, let's move forward.
Mm-hmm.
Move from here.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
so that's just me. That's just what I do. It's
I
Mark's
love it.
fault.
Hey,
Hey, listen,
listen,
it's great, man. I'll take the
Mark
blame.
getting us all right out here, man. I love it. It's always a reminder. It's like, iron sharpens iron out here, man. For
Exactly,
sure.
exactly.
Definitely, definitely. I know we are approaching the time
Hmm.
for the
Yeah.
show here. It's been definitely an honor and a privilege to have a conversation with you, past Master Callahan, for sure. I don't think we had a conversation outside of
No.
maybe on the chats or things like that, where
Yeah. Well,
we have our banter on the chats and
yes.
all that sort of things. It's all good. But
The big year is coming up. If everybody's
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
right. Yeah.
The time is almost approaching where we get down
Mhm.
and we just kind of fellowship. And I love that you mentioned the fellowship being impeccable, like when you came into the craft, and mention all the good things that you notice about the craft. We can kind of get caught up in the things that we don't necessarily enjoy, and the sort of the opportunities for improvement. And at the same time, there's a lot of beauty in the craft, and I appreciate you calling
Yes.
out some of the great things in terms of getting a good word from a brother, the fellowship, those sort of things. So much love and much appreciated. Um, for those who are listening right now, please continue to subscribe, like to the channel, share this episode with as many people as possible. Past Master Callahan has definitely shared his journey and his jewels with us that Past Master Alexander, I'm sure, will summarize shortly. But definitely want to say, Past Master Callahan, thank you for your service to the craft. I look forward to connecting with you in person and also seeing what you do next in this next chapter in the craft.
Thank you too, and I appreciate it. It was an honor and a pleasure.
All right, the question that we getting used to, your book. Do you have any Masonic book or book on leadership you recommend?
So there was two. One was the
Mm-hmm.
I think it was called the assistant to the worshipful
Master
master,
Assistant,
Worship
yeah.
Master
master's
Assistant.
Yeah.
assistant,
Mm-hmm.
and the other one was the oh, I forget the name of it, but it's got it looks like it talks about the going back to pure masonry. It's a
Mm-hmm.
blue book, and I can't recall the name of it, but
Okay.
it talks about going back into pure masonry. In other words, like before we go out into these other houses, we need to make sure we know what we're doing in our blue house. And I can't recall the name of it, and I so
That's
apologize.
not observing the craft, is it? Not
Yes,
that?
it is. That's it.
Observing the
Observing
craft?
the
Okay,
craft,
craft.
That's a
Yeah.
classic,
and
classic.
Yeah.
and because I read those two books from end to end. Like other
Mm-hmm.
books I pull from, I read,
Mm-hmm.
I read a chapter here and there, and I pull references. But those two books I read from cover to cover, and
Cool.
then of course the Bible,
Yeah, of course.
the Bible.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So so those are my
Um,
three.
yeah. Your 2025 question, Matt, before I do the summary.
Yeah, I thought he kind of hit on it a little bit about what
Okay,
if he could do it all over again. But
yeah.
so if you were to go back into the East, if you were reelected to go back into the East for 2025, what would you focus on, or what would you do either more of or differently in
Hmm.
2025?
Definitely travel more. Definitely travel more. Definitely uh have more study classes, not just the one or two with this. The senior warden does a great job, but I would add more to that, be more in
Mm-hmm.
depth.
You think brothers
And
will come? The eight brothers will come?
if I had, yes, I would have more because I would have more time, right?
Mm-hmm.
If things being perfect, like let's say I'm an empty nester, you
Okay.
know,
Mm-hmm.
and have the time, yes, definitely would be more study classes, right? And so that way we could, really bring brothers back. And
Mm,
then that's a tool you can use without recruiting,
mm, okay.
So yeah, I would definitely do that. And like I said, travel more. I would love one day to travel out of the country
Okay.
Yeah.
and go to different places because, as we all know, masonry didn't start in America.
Mm-hmm.
So I would like to go to other foreign countries, jurisdictions.
Traveling, man. Let's go. Let's get it.
Yes.
Let's get it.
Definitely.
I like it.
Past Master Callahan, it's definitely been a pleasure to have you on our show this evening. You have expressed a different view on different things, and definitely we appreciate everything that you gave. You have gave us knowledge on a few things, and here's a few of them. Yeah, you can't do masonry without a solid foundation. That's one thing that's very important. So brothers got to make sure that their family and everything is secure before you try to go out and do different things. Keep a journal. That was definitely a good thing. So you can see your progression and also keep notes so you know how to handle things when things come along. Save your money because you're gonna need it. Ain't nothing, like they say, nothing free in ministry but the name. So make sure you start saving them ducats, so you can enjoy your time if you're traveling, trying to go to the east. Um, Intentional leadership is effective leadership. You got to make sure you do things on purpose, intentionally set yourself up so that you can lead your lodge into a better space. Study your lodge. You have to know the brothers in which you are there, and then you can deal with the different personalities better if you know them. So you study the brothers, you study the lodge and everything that's going on with it, and in totality, like you said, you have a building, so you need to know things about, laws. So study your lodge. Brothers need to see the fruit of your lodge. You need to see what's happening in your lodge, and in order for them to come back. That could be an inspiration for brothers come back. So every lodge should be bearing some type of fruit. So make sure you showing that. And social capital is important. No, don't forget that, brothers. You can't get so insular inside of Freemasonry and forget about outside of Freemasonry. I know I don't know, I remember all of it. I remember Prescott Harris said something about Joppa. They have things about like 5 different ways you're supposed to, like, your family, your friends, your co-workers, and something, I forgot the other two, but it's people that you're supposed to attack outside of the craft in order to bring for fundraisers and things like that. So having that social capital is important, even not for just for fundraisers, but also for other things that can help our brothers in any way they're needed. So thank you for those jewels, past master.
That's right.
We appreciate you, bro.
Appreciate you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was just thinking it back. I was like, I know this intentional leadership came up before.
Mhm.
Past Master Hill on the first episode. So
There it
go
is.
back to listen to Past Master
Mhm.
Hill in the first episode, and then
Okay.
come back and listen to Past Master Callahan on this one and see
Mhm.
some of the relationship between what they were sharing in terms of intentional leadership. It'd be kind of cool to see that from the beginning to now. Our
Yeah,
first
definitely.
episode to our latest episode, and
Mhm.
intentionality keeps popping up. So that's cool to see that coming up. All right.
Nice.
So again, a past master, we appreciate you again. Looking forward to the next journey in the craft, and enjoyed our time on this masterful conversation for sure. All right.
All right.
For everyone that's listening, again, we appreciate your energy. We appreciate the positivity. Please again, like, subscribe to the channel, give us comments, let us know what you
Thumbs
think
up.
about it. Thumbs up. Spread it to as many people as possible. Anybody that's in the craft or not in the craft that you think could receive value from what was shared today. We always say that the world needs leaders, and leadership starts with being able to lead yourself. So it's hard for you, almost impossible for you to lead other people if you cannot lead yourself. So please take these words and any wisdom that you receive today to help improve yourself personally and professionally. Until the next time, God bless.
All right.